India's economic strategy, boycotting Chinese products. India's call to boycott Chinese products, initiated amid border tensions and security concerns, presents an intricate picture for economists and policymakers. This report delves into the governmental measures taken, the economic impact observed, the challenges faced, and the long-term strategic considerations for India's economic framework. While certain interventions have been executed, the overarching effectiveness of the boycott remains under scrutiny. In June 2020, the Indian government took a decisive step by banning 59 Chinese mobile applications. Notable names like TikTok and WeChat made the list, with the government highlighting threats to national sovereignty and security as primary reasons. This significant move was part of a broader objective to minimize digital dependence on Chinese platforms. For economists, it raises questions about the balance between security interests and technological integration with global markets. Furthering its strategic agenda, the Indian government imposed restrictions on imports of specific Chinese goods, such as air conditioners and certain electronic components. The objective was to invigorate domestic manufacturing and curb reliance on imports from China. While the intent aimed at strengthening local industries, the effectiveness of these restrictions in altering trade equations invites detailed economic scrutiny. Analysts are keen on evaluating whether these measures have indeed provided the desired impetus to local manufacturing sectors, or if alternative sourcing has merely filled the gap. Despite stringent measures, trade data paints a rather revealing picture. Reports indicate that India's imports from China have not witnessed a significant decline. In fact, by 2022, India's imports from China surged to a new pinnacle, with the trade deficit climbing beyond $100 billion. This paradox highlights the resilient interdependence between the two economies, urging economists to dissect the nuances of bilateral trade flows and the potential buffering factors that have shielded trade ties from governmental interventions. The realm of consumer electronics, particularly smartphones, presents another layer of complexity. Chinese brands such as Xiaomi, Oppo, and Vivo continue to command a considerable share of the Indian market. Their sustained dominance, despite calls for boycotts, suggests deep-rooted consumer preferences. The persistent appeal and competitive pricing models of these brands highlight enduring brand loyalty that overshadows geopolitical considerations, challenging economists to explore consumer behavior dynamics and the potential shifts necessary for promoting domestic alternatives. A critical hurdle in the quest for economic independence is India's supply chain dependencies. Key manufacturing sectors, such as pharmaceuticals and electronics, heavily lean on Chinese raw materials and components. This intricate web of interdependencies underscores the challenges of disentangling economic ties without impairing domestic industries. For economists, this scenario poses the challenge of devising adaptable supply chain frameworks that align with national interests without compromising industrial growth momentum. Experts opine that a full-fledged boycott may yield counterproductive outcomes, potentially inflicting more harm on Indian businesses and consumers than on China. The complex economic ties between these populous nations require strategic planning and time for disentanglement. Economic analysts are tasked with evaluating the long-term implications of these policies on India's economic health and the broader geopolitical context. Considerations of how these strategies could impact economic growth, job markets, and consumer prices hold profound significance. India's initiatives to curtail dependence on Chinese products have sparked significant policy actions and awareness. However, the visible impact remains limited, with entrenched economic interconnections and steadfast consumer preferences presenting substantial barriers to realizing an effective and far-reaching boycott. For policymakers and economists, crafting a blueprint to lessen reliance on Chinese imports necessitates a long-term strategic focus. Key to this endeavor is enhancing domestic manufacturing capabilities, diversifying supply chains, and fostering innovation. This pursuit demands collaborative efforts between government bodies, industry stakeholders, and academia to ensure a competitive, resilient, and self-reliant economic landscape for India, fulfilling both immediate objectives and future aspirations. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, please do subscribe, like, comment, and share.